The dismissive avoidance kryptonite, the one person they can't resist. In every relationship, there's often a dynamic that catches us off guard, one that leaves even the most emotionally distant people feeling drawn in, conflicted, or even overwhelmed. When it comes to dismissive avoidance, those who typically pull away when intimacy deepens, many people wonder, is there a specific type of person who breaks through their emotional armor? Someone who gets under their skin, makes them feel, and perhaps even makes them stay longer than they normally would? The answer is yes. And surprisingly, that person is often someone with a fearful avoidant attachment style. In this video, we're diving deep into why fearful avoidants are the dismissive avoidance emotional kryptonite, and what that means for both people in this powerful, yet often turbulent connection. First, let's set the stage. Dismissive avoidants are known for valuing their independence above all else. They often avoid vulnerability, distance themselves during emotional intimacy, and have a hard time expressing needs or receiving emotional support. But what most people don't realize is that even though they may seem cold or detached on the outside, there's often a deep undercurrent of shame, fear of helplessness, and an overwhelming need to stay in control. Now enter the fearful avoidant, someone who swings between craving intimacy and fearing it, someone emotionally intense and unpredictable, often loving one moment and distancing the next. When these two meet, it sets off a psychological and emotional storm that neither can fully control. What makes the fearful avoidant so powerful in the eyes of the dismissive avoidant? It comes down to something known in psychology as intermittent reinforcement. This is the phenomenon where unpredictable rewards, emotional attention, affection, validation, become deeply addictive. Fearful avoidants tend to be hot and cold. They can be incredibly loving and present one day, and then withdrawn or angry the next. Dismissive avoidants, although they also withdraw, are not as emotionally extreme. Their emotional pendulum swings in a narrower range. But the roller coaster that a fearful avoidant brings is intense. It hijacks the avoidant's nervous system in a way that bypasses their usual emotional shutdown. It forces them to feel. And because these bursts of closeness are inconsistent and unpredictable, the dismissive avoidant becomes hooked, trying to regain the emotional high they got during those rare, powerful moments of connection. There's a strange paradox here. On one hand, the dismissive avoidant feels deeply triggered by the fearful avoidant. The emotional intensity, the criticism, the volatility, all of it makes them feel unsafe. It activates their core fears of being pressured, trapped, or judged. They might feel like they're being asked to change, to show up differently, to give more than they believe they can. These demands tap into their internalized shame, the feeling that they are not enough or are fundamentally defective. Yet despite the discomfort, they often stay longer in these relationships than they do in more stable ones. Why? Because for once, they are feeling. And for someone who has spent a lifetime avoiding vulnerability and closeness, feeling, even when it's painful, can be strangely magnetic. Now, this is not to say that this dynamic is healthy. In fact, it can be incredibly damaging over time. The volatility of the fearful avoidant can create a minefield of emotional explosions. The dismissive avoidant may shut down more and more to protect themselves, and the fearful avoidant, in turn, feels abandoned or rejected and lashes out even more. The conflict grows and both people feel exhausted and misunderstood. But in those early stages, especially during the dating and honeymoon phases, the highs can be intoxicating enough to create an illusion of deep love and connection, when in reality what's being felt is often trauma bonding fueled by unhealed wounds. Now let's get something very clear. This isn't an invitation to play mind games. A lot of people hear about intermittent reinforcement and mistakenly believe that if they become hot and cold, if they pull away at the right time, they can make someone chase them or fall for them harder. That kind of manipulation may create an initial hook, but it erodes connection over time. Like waves crashing against the shore, emotional games slowly wear down trust, safety, and real intimacy. What we want instead is the opposite: open communication, emotional literacy, self-awareness, and boundaries. These are the tools of secure attachment. They help us build relationships that aren't just passionate in the beginning, but that evolve and grow over time. So what should we take away from all of this? Well, the fact that fearful avoidants are often the dismissive avoidance kryptonite is not a sign of compatibility. It's a sign of mutual wounding. Both are often carrying emotional scars from childhood. Fearful avoidants may have experienced both neglect and enmeshment, while dismissive avoidants often grew up in environments where independence was necessary for survival and emotional needs were dismissed or punished. When these two meet, their attachment systems recognize each other, not from a place of wholeness, but from a place of shared pain. That pain can look like chemistry. It can feel like destiny. But more often than not, it's trauma repeating itself in the hope of finally being healed. And yet there's another layer to this. The reason the dismissive avoidant can't easily walk away from the fearful avoidant isn't always about the person themselves. It's often about the needs that person meets. Maybe the fearful avoidant made them feel deeply desired in moments. Maybe they offered emotional availability in a way the dismissive avoidant secretly craved but never asked for. When those needs are met inconsistently, the dismissive avoidant may become afraid, not of losing the person, but of losing the feeling they got from them. It's a subtle but powerful form of dependency, often misunderstood even by the people experiencing it. So what's the solution? If you're in this kind of dynamic, or if you recognize yourself in either of these attachment styles, the first step is always self-awareness. Begin to notice your patterns. Are you drawn to people who trigger you, not because they're right for you, but because they activate something unresolved inside you? Are you staying because it feels familiar, not because it feels safe? Once you have awareness, the next step is self-repair. Building a secure relationship with yourself, learning how to meet your own needs, heal your core wounds, and communicate clearly without shame or fear. And remember, the goal in love is not to find someone who stirs up all your old wounds. It's to find someone who helps you heal them. That doesn't mean a relationship will be perfect or without conflict. It just means that both people are committed to growing in safety, not surviving in chaos. So yes, fearful avoidance can be the dismissive avoidance kryptonite. But kryptonite is not a cure. It's a weakness exposed. And if we're willing to do the inner work, that weakness can become a place of growth, transformation, and ultimately, secure connection. Remember, love is not about finding someone who reopens your wounds. It's about finding someone who helps you heal them. Fearful avoidance can be the dismissive avoidance kryptonite, a weakness exposed, not a cure. But with courage, awareness, and honest work, that weakness can become a doorway to growth, transformation, and finally, secure, lasting connection. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into attachment, healing, and relationships.